Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I already punched out an NBA showdown slate for the Wolves-Mavs game for tonight. You can catch that at the end of this video or head to our channel, the DFS Build, and check it out. Today we're going to run through the Sunday early slate here. I guess it's also the main slate. Whatever it is, it's got several games and it gets started at 12:36 Central. So I'm going to go over it now and hopefully help you out. If this video helps you out in any way, please give it a like and also consider subscribing to the channel. Both those things help us out a lot, lets me know I'm doing something right. And also subscribing gets you alerts to the video or other videos that we might push out. This video is also sponsored by DFS Hero. You can catch their projections right here. I'm using them for projections and ownership and optimal lineup numbers, all kinds of cool stuff. You can use them for that and also for their making lineups and also for their sims. So give them a try. 15% off if you use our link in the video description below. All right, let's get right to it. We got the Dodgers and Reds game has been moved, so that game is no longer available on the schedule. The players are marked in red. Do not use them. They won't count for any points. There's a little bit of weather to monitor for this slate. A little bit of rain for the Brewers and Red Sox at Fenway. Doesn't seem too worrisome, but keep an eye on it. A little bit of rain in Texas and Minnesota. Don't think that's much of a concern either. The main ones to be worried about, or really the only one to be worried about, would be Baltimore and Chicago. That one is a little bit dicey, and also winds are blowing in. So honestly, because the winds are blowing in and because of the rain, I'm probably just going to fade that game. All right, so let's get to it. First game, we have the Mariners and the Nationals. So the Mariners coming in as mega chalk. If we look at the stack IQ, we can look at them as 15% overall stack percentage. That's very hefty. That's a big no for me. That's too much ownership for one stack. That means they're going to be pretty darn chalky across the board. Obviously, they're a good stack. I can't fault anybody for going there. Patrick Corbin is certainly a gas can type pitcher at this point. Everything really grades out well for the Mariners here. They have a collective. Let me see. They have a collective. Actually, their ISO for this projected lineup is not that worrisome at only 0.138. But Corbin can be had for sure. 191 ISO to lefties, 227 ISO to righties, 12% K rate against righties. So, yeah, Mariners could definitely do some damage here. However, they're going to be chalky. So when it comes to a slate like this, and there's one stack that's really standing head and shoulders above the rest as far as ownership, I am just going to either be underweight or go away from them completely and hope they just don't go off. I'm not exactly going to come in here and use Patrick Corbin, but you could because he's not going to be very expensive. He is really, really cheap at 5K, so that's an immediate leverage play if you want to go there. And of course, the Mariners do strike out at a 25% clip against lefties. So it's not that crazy. I would certainly, from a logical perspective, lean towards the Mariners here. But based off of ownership alone, I don't want to go to them too much. On the other side, Brian Wu is actually pretty appealing at 8.6K. Obviously, not a crazy good projection. He doesn't show up in the optimal very much. But the Nationals are not too scary of a lineup, and they have a collective 22% K rate, so not too bad. And his underlying numbers on the year are pretty good. So not really worried about the power. The strikeouts are decent, and they don't walk a crazy amount. So I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. 8.6K isn't too bad. Excuse me. But he's also not like a priority by any means. He's been pitching well, though. 14, 21, 30 fantasy points in his 3 games on the year, 0.57 ERA. He's certainly in my pitcher player pool, just not like an absolute lock or anything. We go to the Braves and Pirates. I swear, every time I ignore a Pirates game at PNC Park, it goes absolutely bonkers. Just a couple of days ago, the Giants and Pirates went off and broke a slate. So PNC Park, kind of PNC Park, I guess. I don't know. But I would definitely start with the pitching here. Chris Sale against the Pirates looks pretty darn good. He's coming in into the optimal 56% of the time, monster 46% ownership. But when a pitcher's going to get that owned, absolutely, I'm going to sprinkle in some Pirate stacks just to gain a little bit of leverage. But for sure, I'd mostly go Sale here. It just looks like a good spot. 25% K rate for the Pirates against lefties, and everything he's done on the year looks really good. It's obviously historically a pitcher park, so anything can happen in baseball. But Sale looks like a really good play here. On the other side, Martin Perez looks awful. He is pretty good at just kind of hanging around and limiting damage and just eating up innings. But the Braves are also elite. So the Braves do not strike out too much. They have a lot of guys that can get easy walks, and they bring a 219 collective ISO into this matchup. So Perez can definitely be had by righties. So far on the year, he's a little bit worse against lefties. Across the board, he gives up power, and he doesn't strike out a lot of people. 16% K rate or 17.5% K rate. So I would not play Perez at all for leverage just because there's no upside there. But I would have interest in Brave stacks. The only thing is they're the second highest owned stack on the slate. So once again, I'm not super eager to go out and pay for a pretty chalky Brave stack that is really expensive. So I'm personally kind of shying away from the Mariners and Braves, and immediately by doing that, I'm getting different, and that makes me not feel too bad about eating that Chris Sale chalk. On to Fenway we go. Brewers and Red Sox, obviously a little bit of light weather concern, so keep an eye on that. Tanner Houck in a vacuum looks pretty appealing just because the Brewers do sport a 23% K rate against righties, and he's been really good. The only problem is, hey, this just might be who the Brewers are, okay? They just might be a really good, solid offense that has power and can steal bases and can get walks. They kind of do everything well right now. They come in with a 9.8% collective walk rate, 161 ISO, and they can swipe some bags. So Hawk is good, but Fenway is a dangerous park for everybody. So I like the Brewers a decent amount here. If we look at the stack IQ, I don't think they're going to be crazy owned. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're sixth highest owned stack, which on this slate 4%. Actually, no, let me rearrange that. No, they're actually way lower than that. So Brewers look pretty good as far as a GPP stack goes, and honestly, everything looks good for them except for the fact that Hawk is a good pitcher. But for tournaments, I think they're really interesting. The Red Sox are going to pop a little bit more. I think they're pretty chalky. Let's see here. Yeah, third highest on stack. So I'd be more eager to get away from Boston and try Milwaukee in this game. But the Red Sox, they're still also in Fenway, and they're facing a young pitcher in Robert Gasser. So they could, exploit him for sure in a hitter's park, no doubt about it. But their projected lineup doesn't look good. 116 ISO. Collectively 25% K rate. I kind of lean on the Gasser side here, especially if we're going to get Boston coming in with ownership. So Gasser is, what's his price? 6.6. He looks like a viable SP2 here for sure. He's not coming in with an amazing projection or a high ceiling. He's not coming in the optimal or anything like that. But I think with the projected lineup right now, I think Gasser is a little bit underrated. On the other side, I don't know if I can't remember if I touched on Hawk, but obviously I do like the Brewers a little bit, but the Brewers do strike out a little bit. So, and Hawk is good. He comes in with a pretty good projection, and he's carrying a little bit of ownership at 12%. So I don't have a problem with him. I just personally favor the Brewers here. The Mets and Giants, we got Logan Webb and Sean Manaea facing off. Logan Webb looks pretty good with an 18.18 projection, coming into the optimal lineup 22% of the time with 24% overall ownership. I think he's fine. Let's see here. Giants and Mets. The Mets have a collective 165 ISO, 21% K rate. I think it's an okay matchup. It's not my favorite. Webb just looks, there's nothing wrong with Webb. His price is 8.4K. That's not too damaging. Wait, is that his price? Yeah, 8.4K. So I'm okay with it. Just not. I never get excited to play Logan Webb. I don't have a problem with him. It's a fine enough spot, but he's not a priority play for me. No real interest in Sean Manaea. His projection for his price is not bad, and he's showing up in the optimal 16% of the time. But it's just not a really advantageous spot, I don't think. Giants whiff 21% of the time collectively, but they have a 188 ISO coming into here. And Sean Manaea just really can be up and down. He's really a difficult guy to trust. At 7.2K, he's been okay this year, but I just can't. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to, okay? All right, moving on here. We got the Royals and Rays. Taj Bradley taking on the Royals. It's not a good spot for Taj Bradley whatsoever. The Royals have been really good on the year. Taj Bradley giving up a 263 ISO against lefties, 28% fly ball percentage, and a 52% hard hit rate against lefties. So Royals have a lot of lefties. Obviously, you can complete the stack, throw in Perez and Bobby Witt as well, but they got the offense to do some damage here. 186 collective ISO. They don't strike out that much. So, yeah, I favor the Royals here for sure. I don't think they're going to be that owned either. Let's see. Yeah, they're pretty low down here. So Royals look pretty interesting. I mean, Taj Bradley is a good pitcher. He comes in with a solid projection. He's in the optimal 25% of the time, has 20% ownership. I think this would be a spot where I would take advantage of that ownership and I would target Taj with some KC stacks. On the other side, Michael Wacha never feels amazing, but he's only 6.9K. And the Rays bring in almost a 25% collective K rate. He can be had by lefties for sure, but I mean, I think KC is going to win this game, and Wacha is cheap, so I think he's a viable SP2 here. Not super worried about the Rays on this slate. All right, we got Rangers and Twins. Pablo Lopez taking on the Rangers. That doesn't feel great to me. Obviously, Pablo Lopez can be very, very good. He's got a 28% K rate on the year. He's given up a little bit of power on the year, and that's a little bit concerning against a Rangers team that has quite a bit of pop and a 194 ISO and only a 20% K rate. So I don't think I'd really go out of my way to pick on Pablo Lopez. He's only coming in at 17% ownership, so I don't really see the leverage there, but it's also not like a dream spot for him. So I think I would just kind of not play Pablo or the Rangers. On the other side, I actually like the Twins quite a bit. Yuri Rodriguez, it's a small sample size, but on the year, 250 ISO against lefties, 289 ISO against righties. His K rate is below 18 or below 19% against both sides of the plate. 15% walk rate against lefties. Again, small sample size, but he's not pitching very well right now. And last year, the numbers weren't very encouraging either. So the Twins look pretty good. Collective 185 ISO, very high K rate. So you definitely can go Yuri Rodriguez if you want to. Where is he on here for price? He is 4K flat. He's not in the player pool for DraftKings at the moment, though. So keep an eye on that. Perhaps he'll get added. And let's see, did that actually get updated? Let me check on the fly here. We got Texas and Minnesota. Okay, so now I'm seeing Nathan Eovaldi. So keep an eye on that if he actually is going to be the guy that starts at 8.6K. If he is in, I'm not as interested in the Twins. If it ends up being Yuri, the Twins look really appealing to me. All right, and last game is the Baltimore-Chicago game. I think this is a game I'm going to avoid due to the weather concerns and the fact that the wind is blowing in, but I'll look at it just in case you end up wanting to take on some risk. Because here's the thing. If people are going to shy away because of the wind blowing in or because of rain, we could take advantage of that for sure with ownership. Not interested in stacking White Sox against Kyle Bradish at all. Also, due to the weather concerns, I'm not really going to target the pitching, but sometimes we can take advantage of the sticks if they're going to be low owned due to weather. Chicago, not really appealing, but Baltimore could be. I mean, let's face it. They're facing Garrett Crochet. He's just got an insane K rate on the year, 38% K rate against lefties, 31 against righties. Not giving up a lot of power, but if he does, it comes against the right side of the plate. So I think you can go Baltimore stacks here, starting with the righties. Ryan Mountcastle, Adley Rushman. You can complete the stack here with their lefties too, but it's just not a game that I really want to go to. If you're going to do anything here, I would stack Orioles. But it's not something that excites me whatsoever. All right, to recap here, let's go look back at the pitching. Obviously, the top pitcher on the board is Chris Sale. It's really honestly shaping up as chalk that I don't mind eating whatsoever. Not super gaga about going and playing Pablo Lopez. I'm okay with Tanner Houck if you don't want to have exposure to the Brewers. I lean on the Brewers side on this slate. Logan Webb is okay. No interest in that White Sox game due to weather. Wacha looks like a pretty good SP2. Brian Wu is a little overpriced for his projection, but I think he's still in play. Robert Kasser against a chalky Red Sox team that doesn't look that good for as far as projections go. He's a solid SP2 as well at 6.6K. And then Patrick Corbin just has like the ultimate leverage against the chalkiest offense on the slate that does whiff quite a bit. I think at 5K he is viable as a price point play, but is he safe? Obviously not. All right, real quick as we go look at stacks, there is nothing wrong with paying up for Braves. There's nothing wrong with eating the chalk and playing Mariners and trying to get different elsewhere. I'm not saying you can't do those things. I'm saying the way I play is I don't like to stack up an offense that's going to be 15% owned across the board. So I'm probably getting away from the Mariners. I'm probably getting away from the Braves. And I don't even really like Boston that much. And the weather has me away from Baltimore. So I'm really going GPP across the board on this slate. I'm honestly not starting it off until we go KC, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Those are three of my favorite stacks right there. And then we come all the way down. And that's really the only ones I'd be prioritizing. So if I'm running lineup optimizers, I would be boosting those 3 stacks in particular, and then I would allow myself to get to these 3 higher owned stacks, and then whatever exposure I get to them via, the lineup optimizer, so be it. All right, so that does it for me. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. If it does, please give this video a like and also consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks and good luck.